Good morning. Don Palayo checking in with you guys again. Today is Saturday, November 15th, 2025. I just got out of bed. My hair is a little crazy. Um, Kind of had an interesting day yesterday. One of my coworkers decided to look for another job. She told me yesterday that she was going to be leaving, and my boss was out of the office on a business trip, so he wasn't in the office. He didn't know anything about it, and yesterday was her last day, and it's kind of tough because she ran a lot of the day-to-day operations of the office, and so now a lot of that's going to be getting dumped on me. I think probably next week. Monday is going to be interesting. Um, but she had a real frank conversation with me, and for her it was 100% economics. She just didn't feel like she was getting paid what she needed. She kind of broke down crying a little bit with me yesterday and told me that she didn't have any money in savings. She couldn't save anything because of cost of living has just continued to go up, and our pay is just not keeping pace. I'm not in too different of a situation. I've spent the last 2 or 3 years really throwing extra money at debt, paying off debt. So I've pretty much gotten all that cleared up now, other than my mortgage, and I do still have a car payment, but all the unsecured debt and all that's gone. um, so so I do have retirement savings, but I don't have a lot of cash. I'm starting to build up my cash now. Um, so I understood. I told her, I've been through 2 divorces. So I understand how it can be tight. Um, I'm almost out of the woods with a lot of that stuff. I'm still paying child support for one of my children, but when you're a parent, you're always going to be helping your kids. I think that's just part of life. But my oldest is 21, and she's trying to get started. You know how hard it is out here for these kids trying to get their lives started right now. Um, so I'm trying to do everything I can to help them too. Um, I do worry about that a little bit. My kids are inheriting a world that's quite a bit different than the one that I grew up in. Um, it is a little worrisome, everything that's happening, and in terms of economics. I think there's something. I feel like we're probably going to have eventually some sort of FDR New Deal moment again, because for the last probably 50 years, we've passed a lot of policies that have just whittled away the middle class. The leadership of our country, and business leadership as well as the government leadership, they've just passed a lot of policies that have just destroyed the middle class in this country. We really don't have much of a middle class anymore. Now it is about the top 20. You got the top 20%. You got the top people that are just making ungodly amounts of money. And then you have everyone else, probably the bottom 80%, that are living paycheck to paycheck, aren't able to save anything. Retirement looks impossible to most of these people. That's a problem. And this is a problem for people that do believe in free markets. I believe in capitalism. But we were a capitalist country back in the 1950s, and we had a vibrant middle class. What has changed? Well, we did have more powerful labor movement. We had more union representation back then. I do think that the country probably needs a new labor movement. Um, Now, I just want a better balance between business and labor. At one point in time, it got too skewed where the unions were just kept demanding more and more and more and more, and they got a little too big for their britches. And what the unions have to realize is that not all workers are good workers. Sometimes you get workers that just goof off and don't want to, take on their amount of the labor. And sometimes these unions defend the bad workers. I like the idea of the good workers, you know, being represented and earning more if they're really pulling their fair share of the work if they're really pushing themselves to drive the success of the enterprise that they're working for. Um, but I think we do need a new labor movement in the country. I just want to see a better balance between corporate interests and the workers because we need to get a middle class back in this country. The way it is right now, you know, there's a reason why people are starting to look at socialism again, and it's just because capitalism isn't benefiting enough people. It's only benefiting, maybe 20% of the population who are really benefiting from that system. Um, so that's part of the problem. Um, anyway, I just it was really eye opening. I know a lot of people are feeling that way right now, or feeling really frustrated that they don't feel like they're getting what they need in terms of income. Just and I'm talking about college educated people that have done what they needed to do in terms of getting education. I mean, I'm sitting here with 2 college degrees. I have to DoorDash in the evenings to make ends meet. To have I have some financial goals that I have, and I DoorDash so that I can put more money toward my financial goals. But if I didn't DoorDash, my main job, that income is just enough to pay my bills, but it doesn't leave hardly anything in terms of saving or anything like that. It would just cover my bills. And we're not talking about, I don't live a luxurious life, people. I have a house payment, which my house is kind of an average, actually probably lower than average. I bought this house in 2021. I bought it for $168,000. I have a 3.25% mortgage on it. So we're not talking about something spectacular here. My car payment is lower than the average. My car payment's around $480 a month. I do pay child support. I do have a child support payment. But most of my bills are just everyday average expenses. And my primary income I barely make enough to meet those expenses. Um, I'm not contributing as much right now to my retirement plan as I'd like to. I'd like to put more towards that, but I haven't been able to because I don't make enough. The truth is, I was working another job 3 years ago, and I was making more money in my old job than I am now. Um, it's just, I don't know. It's like incomes are not keeping up, and the cost of living has just skyrocketed for people. And it's hard when that the people that I see every day, the clients that we work with, the kind of money some of these people make, and it's like, you know, most of the clients that we work with are making at least minimum $300,000 a year. Like that's like the low end. And so I don't know. It's just something has to give. The workers need a little bit more, but need a slightly. We need a slight. And the thing is, it's not even that we're needing that much more. It's just we need a slightly larger piece of the pie. It just feels like all of the gain is going to the top, and the workers, the people that are really in the trenches doing most of the work, we're just barely surviving. And that was kind of what she expressed to me yesterday, and I sympathize with that. I totally get that, and I think there's a lot of people in the country that are feeling that way right now. Um, don't feel like they're really benefiting from the current economic model. And when people are not benefiting from the current economic model, they will look for alternatives. And that's why people are looking more at the socialist stuff. Now, do I think socialism will work? No. The problem with socialism has always been that it does not incentivize workers to go out and really push themselves. They get comfortable, they get lax, they just, I saw that a lot when I lived in Europe. When I'm over in Europe, oh, well, I'm going to take a month off and go over here and vacation. And it's like, you know, oh, we're going to be closed during the middle of the day. And it's like, wait a minute, what? you know, um, so there is a trade-off. And it's like, there's a reason Europe's economy, the economy of the different countries there in Europe, they're not keeping pace with the United States or with Asia. Europe is falling further and further behind. It's just because of their socialist policies. Anyway, um, I believe in free markets. I believe in capitalism. I just think I would like to see us have more of a capitalism that we had 60, 75 years ago, where we had a vibrant middle class, where the average workers were earning enough where they could raise a family and not feel stressed about it. Right now we have a lot of Americans, the younger generation, they don't want to have kids because they don't feel like they can afford it. Um, that's a pretty significant problem for our country long term. And we've been pushing more and more and more of the wealth into the stock market, into you know that's what they all think is the important thing, is let's maximize the stock price. And it's like, our society is dying because of it. I mean, businesses have to make a profit, but it's just this absolute maximization of profit, just squeezing every dime out that they can possibly get. And if workers get uppity, and they just cut them, or and it's just that attitude's got to be corrected. That's the problem right now. Anyway, these are just my thoughts this morning. It was just kind of an eye-opening conversation I had yesterday. I'm not looking forward to Monday because, we lost a really good teammate yesterday. Someone that was really doing a good job in her role, and it's going to be hard to replace her. We're just going to have to fill in the cracks as best we can until we can get someone new up and running, but it's not going to be easy. So it probably could have we probably would have avoided this if she had gotten an extra 10,000 a year in income. A lot of these wealthy people don't understand that 10,000 a year, it's not a huge for them. That they don't see that as being a huge amount. But for the regular workers, that's a huge difference, you know? I mean, you're talking about net an extra $700 a month. Um, that makes a big difference for people. It's the difference between not having savings and having some savings to fall back on. Um, anyway, I just wanted to put these thoughts out. It's I hope these employers will, realize that we need to have a middle class again. America's suffering right now because we don't have a middle class. Middle class people go out and they spend and they create a demand in the economy. And right now, the demand is dying because people just don't have extra money. They don't have discretionary income to spend. So anyway, these are my thoughts this morning, you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. I've got a few things to do today. I need to clean up my house a little bit, but I'm going to get up this morning and do some of that, and I'm going to get out and try to join the world of the living. I feel like I look like death warmed over this morning. But anyway, you guys have a good one. Don Pelayo checking out.